Hello everyone, my name is Kanika. In the last class, we discussed about data handling. We started with it and we learned about pictographs, bar graphs, double bar graphs, and types of data. Types of data as in discrete data and continuous data. So now let's see what's the topic for today. Let me share my screen with you. Please wait a minute. All right. So topic for today, which we will be discussing, is histograms and pie charts. Pie charts are also known as circular graphs. So let's understand them in detail one by one. So histogram, what do you mean? What do you think that histogram is? Histogram, this is the diagram given to you. So histogram is basically, it is a kind of a bar graph only, but for the continuous data. Continuous data, as we discussed in the previous class, that it's like you are converting the data in the form of class intervals like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and so on. And when you draw the graph, for this case, you get a histogram. So this is how histogram looks like. It is more that of bar graph. In this case, the bars would be joined. Like in this, they have started the graph from 10 and intervals are at 5. So 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, and so on. So they started their bar with 10 and ended at 15. So all the frequencies which lie between 10 to 15 comes under this bar. Then comes 15 to 20. So all the frequencies which lies between this interval 15 to 20, which is approximately 25 according to this graph. So this bar constitutes all the 25 frequencies which lies between the class interval 15 to 20. Similarly, if we talk about 20 to 25, so values in this case are 30. So frequency is 30. All the 30 frequencies which lies between 20 to 25 lies in this bar. Similarly, the next one gives you the frequency of 15, and then the interval 30 to 35, the frequency is given to you as 10, and interval 35 to 40 gives you a frequency of 5. Again, as I told you, do not forget to mention the scale. So on x-axis, they have taken class intervals. On y-axis, they have taken the frequency. So again, the scale is really important. It's the same as that of bar graph, like how you plot the bar graph. Now let's understand what does this kink means. This symbol is known as kink symbol. Now why do we use this? Because you are not using the values directly from 0, you are starting from 10. So this kink symbol represents that you are skipping few values in the graph and starting from the values or the class intervals which are other than 0. Now let's understand what's given in these points. A histogram is an approximate representation of distribution of numerical data. It was first introduced by Carl Pearson. So basically, histogram gives you the approximate representation of distribution of data among class intervals. How the data is distributed among the class intervals, when you represent it in the form of graph, that graph is known as histogram. Now the second point, a histogram is a plot that lets you discover and show the underlying frequency distribution of a set of continuous data. This allows the inspection of data for its underlying distribution. Basically, what does this statement says is, histogram lets you understand how the frequency is distributed in the set of continuous data. Continuous data means, again, you have to convert the data in the form of class intervals. When you represent it in the form of graph, that graph is histogram. I hope the basics of this is clear. Now let's move further for the next slide. Let's look at the example question. The values are given to you. Uncle Bruno owns a garden of 30 black cherry trees. Each tree is of a different height. The height of trees in inches is given below. So basically the data for 30 trees is given to you. Now you have to represent this graph in the form of histogram. So obviously it's practically not possible to represent the complete data in the form of bar graph, right? So what we do, we convert this data in the form of class intervals. Now let's see the minimum value. Minimum value starts from 61 and then the maximum value is 87. So now you can convert this data in the form of class intervals. Let's start it from 60 to 65, or you can take it from 61 maybe. 61 would be a better option. 61 to 65, then 65 to 70, 70 to 75, 75 to 80, 80 to 85, and then 85 to 90. So this is how you can convert the data in the form of class intervals. Now if we talk about the frequency, so frequency would be how many values lies between 61 to 65? 1, 2, 3. 3 values are there. Then 65 to 70, 1, 2, 3. 3 values are there again. Then 71, sorry, it would be, oh yeah, 70 to 75, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 values are there. Then comes 75 to 80. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values. Now 80 will not be covered in this class interval. 80 will be covered in 80 to 85 class interval. All right. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values are there, and 85 to 90, 2 values are there. Now you can represent this data in the form of graph. Now let's look at the graph. So in this slide, they have represented the graph. We have skipped few values. That is why we are drawing a kink. That because we are not starting from 0, we are starting from 60. So that is why we are skipping few values. All right. So you have 3 values here, 3 values here, and then this would be 8. This is 10. This is 7, and this would be 1. So this is how you can represent the graph. Different values corresponding to different bars. This graph is known as histogram. As per the data we have discussed, this graph is not similar to the data which we discussed. Because the reason being, because in this case they have taken a different class interval, like 60, this should be 65. 60 to 65, it is 3. Then 66 to 70, it should be 65 to 70 actually, because the class intervals should be continuous. Otherwise, the graph would not be continuous. The bars would not be joined. Because in histogram, there should not be any gap between the bars. So this should be 65 to 70. Then next would be 75, 70 to 75. Then you have 75 to 80. Then you have 85, 80 to 85. Then you have 85 to 90. Then these values will automatically change, and hence the graph would be a little bit different. I hope you can draw the graph with the values which we discussed. All right. And make sure that you mention the scale here as well. On x-axis, you are taking the height. On y-axis, you are taking the number of trees as frequency. All right. So make sure to mention the scale, because otherwise you would be losing your marks here. This is very, very important, because without scale, you cannot read the graph. I hope the histograms are clear. Now let's move to another interesting topic that comes circle graph or a pie chart. So what do you think the pie chart resembles? Pie chart resembles a pizza, isn't it? So these are basically all the slices of the pizza. Now, in this, they have what we understand or what we represent here is different data values are represented by different sectors of the graph. So let's understand the statements. A pie chart is a way of representing data in a circular graph. This is circular graph. Pie slices of the chart shows relative size of the data. It is a type of pictorial representation of data. Again, as I told you, graphs are pictorial representation of the data. So this is one type of graph which represents the data in the form of picture or a graph. Okay. So each pie slice or each sector, this is known as a sector. So each sector represents some value. Okay. Now in this case, they have represented how many, like what is the favorite pizza toppings. 10% people like supreme pizza. Then 50% people like pepperoni. 15% people like sausage and 25% people like cheese. In this case, how would you represent, how would you find out like what is 10%? 10% of what? In this case, you should be given some total value or total number of people. Let's say the total number of people are 100. So, how many people like pepperoni pizza? 50% of 100. So, 50% of 100 means 50 people. And if we talk about how many people like cheese pizza, so this would be 25 people, 25% of 100. Similarly, if we talk about the sausage part, so this would be 15% of 100, that means 15 people. And if we talk about the supreme pizza, so this would be 10 people, that means 10% of 100. So this is how you calculate the percentage values. Now, one more thing, that at the center, obviously it will form some angle also. So how will you identify the angle? Now let's see. The formula is given data divided by the total value of data multiplied with 360. Given data means the data given is 50% in this case, for example. So this would be 50, total value is 100 into 360. Basically, you are converting, you are finding out the fraction of the total angle because the total angle of the circle is 360 degree. So zeros gets cancelled, 5 and 10 gets cancelled by 1 and 2, 2 and 360 gets cancelled by 180. So this happens to be 180 degrees. Similarly, you can calculate rest of the angles like 10 over 100 into 360. So again, zeros gets cancelled. This happens to be 36 degrees, right? Then the next one, 15 over 100 into 360. So zeros gets cancelled. Again, 10 and 36 gets cancelled by 5 and 18. 5 and 15 gets cancelled by 3. So you get the result as 54 degree. Then comes 25%. So 25 is out of 100. You have to find out the fraction of angle, that's 360. So 0 gets cancelled, 25 and 10 gets cancelled by 5 and 2. 36 and 2 gets cancelled by 18. So 18 into 5 would be 90. So 90 degrees is the angle. So this is how you calculate the central angle of a pie chart. Now let's understand the statements. First is a pie chart is a way of representing data in a circular graph. As we discussed, this is a circular graph and you are representing the data in the form of circle. Pie slices of the chart show the relative size of the data. It is the type of pictorial representation of the data. So you are representing the form, you are representing the type of the graph in the circular form. You are basically representing the data in the form of circle. Next point is it contains different segments and sectors in which each segment and sector of a pie chart forms a certain portion of total percentage. So total percentage is 100 and every percentage or every sector has some percentage associated with it, which is out of 100. Like 50% of 100% people like pepperoni pizza, right? And then you can find out the angles as well as we discussed here. Percentage will form a fraction, and fraction of what? Fraction of the total angle, that is 360 degrees. So you will get angle of each sector. So this is how you solve a pie chart. Now let's move further with an example question. In this case, there are different sports given to you and how many people like these sports. So we have to represent this data in the form of a pie chart, and let's see how to calculate the angles as well. All right. So according to the table given, the total was 40. Total number of people were 40. Like you can see, it would be 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 10 plus 10. So total comes out to be 40. Total number of people are 40. And then football, 10 people like football out of 40. So what is the percentage? It's like 10 by 40 into 100. So this is how you calculate the percentage. Percentage formula is given value by total into 100%. So this is how you can find out the percentage value. So 25%, and then 5 over 40 into 100 would be 12.5. Similarly, this would be 12.5, 25 and 25. So you can now have to draw the graph. Now, how will you draw the graph? Without angles, you cannot draw a pie chart. Now we have already calculated the percentage and we already know the fraction of the angle we have to calculate now. So this would be 10 over 40 into 360, you get 90 degrees. 5 over 40 into 360 would be 45 and so on. So you can calculate the angles for all the sectors. Now, using a protractor, you can draw these angles, taking any reference line. Suppose I'm taking AB as the reference line segment, and you can easily draw the angles with the help of a protractor. So this would be 90 degrees, then this would be 45 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and 90 degrees. Again, do not forget to mention the key, like which color or which pattern represents what in the circular graph, because otherwise you won't be able to read the graph. Without key, you cannot read anything. So make sure that you mention a key as well. Like in this case, blue color represents football, pink color represents basketball, green color represents badminton, then this violet color represents hockey, and then yellow color represents cricket. So this is what key means. All right. Now let's have a look at the practice questions. These questions you can practice at your home as your homework. Try them and try to understand what this actually means. So you have to, in the first question, you have to draw the histogram, and in the second question, you need to draw a pie chart. In the first case, the total is given to you as 20, and the data values are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can easily convert this data in the form of class intervals, starting with 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. So frequency would be 1 to 2, how many ones are there? 4. 2 to 3, how many frequencies are there? It would be 5. Then 3s are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. And then how many 4s are there? It would be 2. You have to take 5 to 6 as well, because 5 cannot be included in this. So it would be 1. All right. So when you add it, you get a total of 20. Wait, I think I have made a mistake here. Let me just check. Oh yeah, it should be 8 here because the total was coming out to be 90. This total helps you to understand whether your frequencies are correct or not. So now the total becomes 20 and you can easily draw a graph. Let's have a look. So this is how graph looks like. You can easily draw a graph. All right. Or maybe you can start from 0 as well. Like since they have 0, but no, you cannot start it from 0 because reason being 1 cannot be included in that. So you can start from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and so on. So this is how the graph looks like. All right. Then the next question, you have to draw a pie chart. Now, how will you draw a pie chart? First of all, let's find out the total. 4 plus 5 is 9, 9 plus 6 is 15, 15 plus 1 is 16, 16 plus 4 is 20. You have to find out the angle also. So 4 on 20 into 360. This would be 72 degrees. Then the next one, 5 over 20 into 360. This would be 90 degrees. Then you have 6 over 20 into 360. Because we have to draw the pie chart and without the angles you cannot draw it. All right. So this would be 108 degrees. Then comes the drama part. It would be 1 over 20 into 360. So it comes out to be 18 degrees. Then comes the sci-fi. This would be 4 over 20 into 360. So this would be again 72 degrees. Now you can take a reference line in a circle and draw the graph easily. This is how it will look like. They haven't asked you for the percentage, but still you can calculate it by multiplying the fractions with 100, as in 4 by 20 into 100, 5 by 20 into 100, and so on. So you can represent the data in such a manner. I hope the session was quite interesting and you have understood the histograms and the pie charts. So we will be learning about further topics, that is mean, median, mode, and probability as well in the next few slides. Thank you so much. Stay safe and enjoy at home. Thank you.